Hey everyone, it's Mir. Today's video is more like an info dump about everything that I learned about the characters that were available in the latest Street Fighter 6 playable build, which was at EGX London last week, that I got the chance to play. Originally this video was going to be just about that, but I'll throw in some old knowledge as well as the strengths of each character so that it makes more sense and it's more like of a presentation of what the character can do in the current build of Street Fighter 6. Of course I had limited time and I couldn't find out everything about the characters. Most of this information comes from either playing the characters or playing against people that could play them at a competent level. Again, everything is from the most current build, which is the one with Ken. I had to retake this video a couple times because it was extremely long and I know you guys like us, but not that much I bet. So let's get straight into it. Alright, let's talk about Ryu first. Overall, Ryu is really good neutral in Street Fighter 6. His crouching medium kick and standing medium kick have great range. He has high damage combo conversions even from his pokes. And in general, you can play very safe, your traditional Shoto playstyle if you will. Statsu is one of the few anti-projectile moves in the game, although it is a little bit risky to use, but it's still nice to have. His 4 heavy punch is not cancelable into specials anymore, although I think he can still cancel into his DP, unlike previous builds of the game. But now it's more plus on hit, so you can combo after, like with standing medium punch or crouching medium punch for example, into big damage. His Denjin charge, which enhances his next fireball, makes Ryu one of the best characters in Fireball Wars, as he can get a lot of multi-hitting fireballs pretty quickly in neutral. Overdrive Denjin Hadouken is probably the best motion fireball in the game, and in case you missed it, it also enhances his level 1 super as well. It seems like Donkey Kick has more uses than we thought, and it might have a usage in neutral. The medium and heavy versions have quite a lot of pushback on block, so they're difficult to punish. The heavy version sends the opponent tumbling backwards on a punish counter, which might allow for a combo in some situations, but definitely extra corner carry. Now let's talk a little bit about the Hadouken versus Hashogeki's new palm move. Block strings into Hadouken often have gaps, and you can DI and perfect parry through them. If you're close enough for them to be a true block string, you might also be punishable on block. However, if you do a Shogeki, there's less gaps and it's just much safer. However, it doesn't have the ranges of a fireball, of course. It is the preferred ender of choice, and when the opponent is trained to wait for the Hashogeki, you can sneak in the heavy version, which is much slower, but it's plus on block. I think Ryu's a great character for both veterans and new players. I felt right at home playing Ryu. It just feels natural. Uses the universal mechanics very well, like the drive rush or the drive impact, and his combos are easy to understand. He has more tools than usual, but he plays like a Shoto, so it's still very solid. Now let's move on to one of the newcomers, Jamie. Jamie has good movement and very good cancelable buttons. This leads to strong whiff punishment, which is the core of Street Fighter 6, so that already makes him quite good. It's difficult to stall because of the drink mechanic, so he can always use the time that is given to him to level up and get new specials and target combos. On top of that, when he's at max level, he can still drink to gain drive gauge back or get out of burnout faster. This command throw can lead to very high damage and is quite scary, especially because the overdrive version seems to have no extra scaling and you can really do a lot of damage with this. Jamie's Rekka can be easily spaced even though it is unsafe. This can set up some space traps for people that try to punish you, but you're ready for it to whiff and then you punish it yourself. The max level Rekka is actually completely safe, so you don't even need to space that one. The standing heavy kick has long range, low evasion, and it has a crush counter effect on punish counter. In general, it's a great starter for his drive rush combos and can be used to fish in neutral, although it is a little bit slow. The standing medium kick and crouching medium kick are both great whiff punishers. Standing medium kick is even kind of hard to whiff punish itself because it retracts pretty fast. His 4 medium kick overhead has low evasion as well as he flips in the air. You can combo out of it with drive rush as we've seen before, and it seems to be completely safe on block. His 4 heavy kick step kick is actually a really good whiff punishment tool. You can cancel into supers, for example his level 2, and you can combo after, or straight into his level 3 to cash out on damage. I think Jamie is definitely a strong new contender. He can overwhelm opponents defensively as he levels up. Only command throw in the game so far, so it's actually quite scary because of all the damage that you can do out of it. Aside from whiffing command throw, is actually a very safe character. Spacing dependent, so if you enjoy that kind of playstyle, especially with decent movement, he has a well-rounded kit that is geared towards offense, and he can honestly deal with any situation in Street Fighter 6, especially given the universal mechanics. Now let's move on to Chun-Li. Unfortunately, I had the least experience playing her and playing against her because not a lot of people decided to play Chun-Li, especially because she seems actually quite hard to grasp and play at a competent level. However, I can tell you a few things about her. For one, she has the best movement speed in the build. The dashes are good as well, but just the ground movement speed is exceptional. She has a lot of good pokes back for medium punch, crouching medium kick, crouching medium punch. Some of these are cancelable. This helps a lot with DI, as you can cancel into your own drive impact if they do it on you. Lightning legs as well breaks armor pretty fast, as it's a bunch of hits relatively quickly. Her BMBs in general felt easier than Street Fighter V, as you have more time to charge, like for example standing medium punch, crouching medium punch, the spinning bird kick. Her standing heavy punch is really good normal still, and honestly it almost feels like a Dhalsim normal. It has exceptional reach, and you can cancel it into her stance, and we know that you can get a combo on counter hit and punish counter, which is quite notable. Unlike Street Fighter V, I feel like in Street Fighter 6, Chun-Li's anti-airs are much better. She has a legitimate anti-air into the down kick special, as well as standing medium kick, standing heavy kick, and an air throw that can be used to cover right above her head. You can also use her level 1 super for anti-airing because it is invulnerable. Her Kikoken is actually a really good fireball in Street Fighter 6. It has quite a bit of startup, but very little recovery. The slow version of the fireball is actually extremely slow on the ground, so you can follow after it and use it as a shield. Overdrive Kikoken is basically a laser beam. It goes full screen instantly, and you can even combo after it mid-screen. Her Azanshu is actually one of the best anti-projectile moves in the game right now, because even though it's not necessarily really fast, you can space it to make it safe. You get a combo on punish counter thanks to the extra frame advantage, and if you do the OD version, it actually bounces the opponent on the ground. You get a combo that way as well. Her level 2 Hoyokusen, her traditional third strike super and Street Fighter V super, actually doesn't go through projectiles at all in this game. It's still very useful for comboing from afar or as a whiff punisher, and allows Chun-Li to follow up after with a jump cancel, doing jumping heavy punch for example, or canceling into her level 1 super in the air. Most people at the event agreed that Chun-Li is probably the hardest character to play effectively. She has tons of options, especially with the stance. Overall, it's a more well-rounded kit than usual, especially thanks to the new anti-airs that she got. She's definitely one of the most neutral dominant characters in the build right now. A lot of people thought she was one of the best characters, if not the best character, but it's possible that the difficulty will get in the way, as we've seen, for example, in other titles. Okay, next one is Luke, the actual poster boy for Street Fighter 6. I have to say, he felt the weirdest to play. He doesn't play much like Street Fighter V, which surprised me, and I concluded that I'm just not very good with him as it stands right now, so I'll need more labbing. But I can still tell you a few things about him. In Street Fighter 6, most of his long-range moves like his standing heavy punch still have really bad whiffs. This is very dangerous, as you can get punish countered, and especially against good players, this is extremely deadly, as it's very easy to whiff punish these moves. However, those moves are good with punishers themselves, so you're playing an interesting game here. In general, it seems like he's more reliant on his overdrive knuckle for combos, as it's very difficult to combo to his charge knuckles from basically any attack. You need a crouching heavy punch most of the time. His buffers into his DP, like from crouching medium kick, also whiff much more often in this game. However, his new crouching medium kick, crouching heavy punch target combo is actually quite good, either as a buffer or as a confirm. And it leaves you point blank, which is great for a strike throw mix-up, especially in combination with his back heavy punch command normal, which is his old B skill 2, which is throw invulnerable. His standing heavy kick is actually one of his better normals, I think. It's very active and it's useful for advancing on the opponent while having an active hitbox in front of you. It pops them up on punish counter, and you can make it safe with the right spacing, even plus, so it's actually quite good. I like this normal. His air flash knuckle can also be done from a neutral jump on top of a forward jump, so this can be useful in situations like, for example, you're waiting for someone to jump out of the corner and you neutral jump and hit him in the air with jumping medium punch and then convert into a flash knuckle, or to not land on a fireball, for example, if you did the bad neutral jump. And the different versions give you different angles in the air and different directions that you can go. His new forward heavy punch target combo can be done on whiff, which is pretty interesting. You can set yourself up at some ranges where the first hit of the forward heavy punch would whiff, but the second would hit them, so kind of like catch them off guard as they try to whiff punish you. You can also use this when they're jumping over your forward heavy punch, as it will move you forward even more so that you cannot get jumped in on. Since he doesn't have a back medium punch in Street Fighter 6, his pressure is completely different, which is kind of odd because his mediums don't really go into themselves, they have to go into his lights. But in Street Fighter 6, his lights are more rewarding because, for example, his standing light punch, medium punch, heavy punch target combo is now special cancelable, and you can go, for example, into his tackle for Oki and damage. Speaking of his run, he's the only character in the current build to have an armor move included in his kit, which is his overdrive run. It is actually very effective at punishing fireballs. You can almost do it on reaction because it is quite fast, and if you do it at the right range, you can space it to basically be safe. It can also be useful to deal with some annoying pokes. In case your opponent wasn't doing anything, you can always try and catch them off guard with the overhead follow-off, but be mindful it's just as unsafe as it was in Street Fighter V. I have to say, Luke didn't feel very good to me. As I mentioned before, he felt really weird, his combo routes seemed to be completely different, and against good players, whiffing is very dangerous. Unlike Ryu and Ken, if you try to play the traditional Shoto playstyle on the ground, it seems like it's less rewarding than it was in Street Fighter V, so you really need to get used to his new combo routes and options that he has in Street Fighter VI. I think my opinion might change quite a lot if I get more lab time with the character and discover all the possible combo routes that he has available in this game. Now we can talk about Juri. Juri has really good burst movement in Street Fighter VI. Her dash and drive rush are some of the best in the game, if not the best. Her claim to fame is that with stocks, she can push you towards the corner while maintaining herself safe, like for example doing the heavy Hua into the fireball. She can also do block strings into her stock so that she can get back what she spent, basically. On top of that, she has corner carry even on hit, especially if she manages to land her dive kick, which actually sends you flying really far away. The dive kick itself is good to navigate fireballs or escape the corner, as it can cover a lot of ground. That makes the character difficult to lock down. You can space the dive kick to be safe, which is actually decently easy to do in this game. One thing to note is that the dive kick hits an extended hurt box, like for example that of a fireball or of a long poke. If you do the follow-up, sometimes it might just completely drop, so be aware of that. There's a jumping heavy punch that knocks down Street Fighter 4 style. It's actually kinda difficult to anti-air because it hits very early in the jump arc. Her jumping medium punch also hits early, and this could be your normal choice if you're for example jumping over a fireball so that you can hit early and get a combo the moment you land. This is also cancelable in the air into your dive kick. Most of her pokes are not actually very long range, but they're quite fast. Standing mean kick is back, and the first hit is still cancelable, just like in Street Fighter V. It is very good for drive rush, and it is active, so you can use it as an advancing shield in front of you, and it's quite difficult to contest if you don't have a fireball. You can also use her for a medium punch to end block strings, as it is quite far reaching for how fast it is. If you want a longer range poke, you can use standing heavy kick, which goes over lows. However, it is much bigger commitment and can lose to drive impact quite badly. I think the new target combo is useful for buffering in neutral, but unfortunately I haven't seen a lot of people use it. 4 heavy punch is cancelable on both hits, which makes it really good for dealing with drive impact, as you have 2 opportunities to cancel into your own. In general, it can be useful to get stock on block in most cases, as you can confirm it hitting. Her 4 medium kick overhead, which is just the same as Street Fighter V, is actually really annoying in Street Fighter VI. For one, it's completely safe, and it has really good range, good star up, and it avoids lows pretty effectively. Of course, it loses to drive impact, but that's pretty normal for these kind of attacks. The level 1 super actually has some invulnerability, although it was previously claimed otherwise. And in case you missed it, you can hold the input to consume one of your stocks for the super to do extra damage at the end. It's also pretty easy to land in her juggle combos, so it's a very easy way of cashing out on damage. Juri gets a lot of opportunities to combo into her level 2, especially because when you cancel out of it, you can again hold the input and you get a special dash that has a hitbox. This dash is cancelable into attacks, and it basically combos into anything as long as you are aware of what your combo route is. You can add a lot of corner carry to your combos, although the scaling will max out really fast. It makes most normals that are not special cancelable, like standing heavy kick or crouching heavy kick, which will help you make some block strings safe, as well as possibly cancelling into DI, although I don't have confirmation on that. The super makes it quite easy for Juri to rack up a lot of drive gauge damage on the opponent that is blocking, because everything is basically a true block string since it cancels into each other. This is possibly the best level 2 in the game, just on potential alone on what you could possibly do with this. Thanks to her strong dashes and drive rush, she has an easy time getting in. This is balanced by the fact that you need stocks, however they're much easier to get in Street Fighter 6 than Street Fighter 5, and you're not completely screwed if you don't have any. However, I think she has some of the most polarizing matchups. A lot of her strong approaching options are linear on the ground, and the dive kick has some inherent risk because you have to jump forward. So zoners, especially characters with a fireball, have a good time stopping her, and it makes it quite difficult for her to approach. However, if you don't have a fireball or very long range pokes, her drive rush and dash can be quite deadly. Overall, I think she's still pretty solid, and she has very stylish combos if you were into that sort of thing. Okay, next we're gonna talk about Ken. Compared to Ryu, it has much stronger rushdown. The neutral is still solid, but with shorter range compared to Ryu's normals. The damage is still quite high. He definitely has to take more risks than Ryu, but I think he's harder to defend against as well, as there's more options to keep track of. The steady medium kick and its target combo is actually one of the best attacks that he can use in neutral, as it converts into a knockdown from pretty far away. The steady heavy kick has pretty good reward, especially in punish counter, but it is quite slow, so it's best to use it in a situation where you set up a whiff and then manage to get a punish counter that way. The steady heavy punch is actually one of his best buttons for buffering, as it is quite active and it combos into basically everything he has. Unfortunately, his crouching medium kick has not quite the same range as Ryu's, it's a little bit shorter, but it's still a traditional crouching medium kick for Shoto characters. Now, surprisingly, Ken's run step kick is actually safe. If he does a heavy normal or a target combo into the run, the step kick will interrupt you and you will get a counter combo off of it. However, the jabs do stop the run cancel and the run overhead, so you're still incentivized to press if you think that that's what's coming. The Juri kicks can be quite tricky to deal with. I think they want you to parry or drive impact them, however Ken can just not do the follow-up. But they're still potentially very scary if the opponent is in burnout, as obviously you don't have drive mechanics to use. Now onto his Dragon Lash kick, which I think is quite interesting. Now the heavy version is plus on block, and Ken is right in your face. I think you're intended to drive impact through it on reaction, as it is quite slow. You can still get caught off guard, especially if you're not used to how it looks in Street Fighter 6. It has lots of range and you can actually pressure from afar on top of going over most lows. The light version, however, is unsafe, so it's important to know the difference between the two versions so that you can punish the light one and not get caught by the heavy. His Tatsu is not projectile invincible like Ryu's is, but however his run DP is, it goes straight through projectiles. Especially if you use the heavy version, it's going to have a lot of range and good damage, but you need to be careful not to hit the extended hurt box from too far away, otherwise you're just gonna score a few hits and then just whiff in front of your opponent. You cannot really react with a run DP, you have to be already running, but if you're doing that, then in case the opponent doesn't do anything, you can just cancel the run. I think it's the heavy Tatsu from the run, doesn't knock down, but it lands a bunch of hits, does quite good damage, and it has a lot of corner carry, and you're right in their face at plus frames, so that can set up a pretty good situation for Ken. Another thing to note is that Ken can combo after his non-cinematic level 3 super, especially when you land it in juggles. The opponent is gonna be sent flying really high, and then when it comes down, you can hit it with a heavy DP to finish your combo. Of course, Ken still plays like a Shoto. He's more rushdown oriented than Ryu, but he still has good utility in his kit with the DP and the fireball and all of his supers. Both of his new specials are great for offense and mix up your approach on their defense. Ken actually has quite high damage if you decide to forego your scream position by using Dragon Lash Kick, which switches sides. He has a lot of cool combos with the run cancel, and this adds technicality to the character. So he's probably harder than Ryu, but he can still be played like a traditional Shoto quite effectively. Up next is Guile. Guile has very strong zoning in Street Fighter 6, and he has the best fireball in the game, although naturally this requires a charge. It is very hard to drive impact, even in block strings, which means that Guile can drive impact back easily and score fat damage. He has very long pokes, which are difficult to outrange. Standing heavy kick is advancing, it seems safe, gets a combo on counter hit, which is great for stuffing dashes. The standing medium kick, although it's mostly meant to be an anti-air, it's also a good poke on the ground in this game. One of Guile's best features is that really good low evasion. Both his back and forward medium kick avoid lows very effectively. One can be used as a replacement for walking back almost, while his forward medium kick is really good at stuffing people trying to approach, especially if they dash into it, you get a combo on natural hit. Upside down kick is exceptionally long range in Street Fighter 6. It goes really far. In this game, however, it's unsafe, so it can be punished if it's improperly spaced, but it has a lot of pushback on block, and you're mostly going to use it to avoid low attacks from far away. On punish counter, it makes the opponent fall over, and you can get a combo if you're point blank, like for example if you used it as a throw bait. However, you don't seem to get a combo without the punish counter. In the corner, you can get more by jungling into one of your target combos. I only thought of it late in the event, but maybe you could do a drive rush into upside down kick so that you can get a combo on natural hit without needing a punish counter, and also make it much more safe on block. A lot of these normals that I mentioned, however, are pretty vulnerable to jumps as they have a lot of recovery, as well as drive impact. A small note about perfect special moves, they still require some thought, at least as of now. The execution is a little bit different than what people are used to, so you'll have to train for, the Street Fighter 6 input. But aside from that, I think people will soon get used to it and be able to do them pretty effectively. Sonic Boom combos in the corner are still possible. You need a perfect boom and some very precise spacing, but you can even combo mediums and heavies if you have the setup lined up correctly. With Drive Rush, it's possible to get some sort of fireball loops in a way. And of course, his level 2 is mostly unexplored as of now, so that could change in the future when we have more lab time with the character. Guile's whiff management is kind of whatever without charge, but his standing heavy punch and his crouching medium punch are really good for starting a drive rush combo, especially because the standing heavy punch is actually quite good range for its speed. You can also use his crouching heavy kick, down 4 heavy kick target combo, which only combos into itself on punish counter for whiff punishing. Guile's 4 heavy punch, the back fist, I think is harder to use in this game than other ones because it has much more commitment since it moves him forward, but it is plus on block and plus on hit if you manage to land it, so you can get a combo out of it. It's pretty good for stuffing dashes, but I think they want you to use it to punish really slow whiffing moves, or for example when you block a DP, as you can get a very good combo on a punish counter as it gives you extra frame advantage. His bazooka knee is different than in Street Fighter V. I don't think you're actually meant to hit the opponent even if you space it in this game. You could use it as an advancing hitbox in front of you to stuff certain pokes while approaching, but in general it seems that it's meant to be whiffed in a fireball war so that you can approach while throwing sonic booms, just like it used to be in the old school Street Fighter games. Some of Guile's N-tiers have some extra properties that we didn't discuss before. One of them is the down 4 heavy kick, which you can drive rush to juggle into one of your target combos, into a flash kick for example. The other is that if you do a flash kick very early, you can actually pick up an overdrive flash kick as you recover first and you can juggle them before they hit the ground. We know that the overdrive sonic blade into the overdrive sonic boom is this very fast projectile that causes a wall splat, but it doesn't seem like you can get anything off of it on most positions on screen. Even when you're pretty close you can get maybe a back light kick, but then knocks down, doesn't give you an air reset. Since it's a 4-bar investment, it seems more useful in fireball wars than actually to get a combo. That's just an extra. He has some of the best supers in the game, which of course are locked behind charges, level 1 and his level 3. The level 1 has amazing utility as it's invulnerable, it's an N-tier, it goes through projectiles, it's just really good overall and can be used at the end of a lot of his combos to cash out on damage, and it puts the opponent full screen. His level 3 are actually pretty surprising horizontal and vertical range for it being basically a flash kick. Since you only need back charge, you can use it as an N-tier, and you can have some situations where you whiff a back light kick to get close and then punish the opponent for doing a fireball from point blank, which is quite interesting and actually very rewarding to land. In general, Guile is really incredible zoning in Street Fighter 6, almost unexpectedly I would say, and he feels very safe in everything that he does. He has some of the best normals in the game, and he's difficult to lock down, especially if he has space to walk back. He's the character that I played the most, as obviously I'm a Guile player, but I think he's gonna be very familiar to old school players as he plays in a very similar way as he always has with the new tools and goodies that he gets in Street Fighter 6. He currently feels very strong, and a lot of players do think he's one of the best characters in the game right now. Now finally we have Kimberly. Kimberly is a character with really good movement and evasion. She's one of the trickiest characters in the roster right now with very good mix-up. However, she still has a solid ground game on top of that. Her drive impact looks like a hop, but it doesn't actually avoid lows. It still armors through them, however. Her standing heavy punch is kinda stubby, but it has punish counter, crush counter properties. It can lead to really big damage. We see the CPU link a raw parry into drive rush into a pickup, for example. It's quite safe to whiff as it doesn't have a lot of recovery, and it is cancelable, which makes it quite useful against drive impact. She has an amazing standing medium kick whiff punish, which is actually very similar to Jamie's. However, in her case it can lead to really good conversions, especially if she spends meter on overdrive horizontal. Her crouching medium punch is a good combo starter with okay plus frames. On counter hit and punish counter, she gets a standing heavy punch here, which is quite good as it goes into the heavy Ozanto. It's not plus enough to frame trap into itself, but if the opponent starts mashing, you can frame trap into her lights and still get a conversion. Kimberly's for the heavy kick gets a lot of attention. It's the hop normal with the 3 jump follow-ups. The 3 jumps require different solutions to be dealt with on defense. If she does the cross-up hop, if you immediately jab her, this is gonna hit her, but this is going to be defeated by the neutral jump hop. The neutral jump hop, however, can be DP'd or anti-aired otherwise. If you are careless with your anti-airs, however, she can do the jump back hop, and then your DP is going to whiff and she's gonna be able to punish you. It is definitely a big knowledge check, but I think the mix-up that you get here is pretty real. It's not really just a gimmick. Kimberly's damage is a little bit below average until she lands her heavy Ozanto, in which case she can do a jump cancel combo into jump medium punch Tatsu, for example, or a Irizuna drop. You also can do jumpy medium punch OD Tatsu into level 2, and this is one of her best ways of cashing out from the air super. You can also combo easily into the heavy Ozanto thanks to Drive Rush, as you can combo into Drive Rush standing heavy punch and then the heavy Ozanto from there. It's actually quite easy for Kimberly to put you in the corner. She has very good corner carry both on her Tatsu and the run slide, for example, and she can tag it on at the end of combos very easily. Kimberly can forego some of her Oki to set up a shuriken bomb on your wake up. Although she's often minus, it forces the opponent in a situation where they have to take action, because if they just sit there and block, then the bomb was gonna put Kimberly on massive plus frames and she can basically do whatever she wants. So you either have to jump out, dash out, or at least get ground in some way, and Kimberly can do stuff about that to prevent you from doing it, like anti-airing or hitting you on the ground with her post, for example. She can also set up 2 bombs at the same time as she has 2 shuriken bombs, which could be really useful in mid-screen situations where doing different rises completely kills the setup unless you set both bombs on the ground. Hidden Variable, which is the disappearing act where she disappears in a puff of smoke, can actually be used to go through fireballs pretty effectively, although only the faster ones. The slower fireballs tend to be so slow that you just end up going into them and getting hit. You can also use it in some block strings as it kind of resets pressure if they're sleeping at the wheel, and it has some momentum so you can use it to stay close to the opponent. The overdrive version is actually really fast and it approaches from the air, and you can do jump attacks out of this. This is much more effective for dealing with fireballs and in general to try and skip neutral because it's harder to anti-air. This can create some fairly convincing setups, especially in combination with the shuriken bomb. Talking about a run follow-up, the run light kick, which is the anti-air follow-up as the move list describes this, is actually safe, and the overdrive run light kick is plus on block, and she's actually pretty close to you and in throw range it seems. The run medium kick, both for the normal and the OD run, actually goes through projectiles pretty easily. It requires some time, but you can actually do pretty early, and the slide goes really far, so it's not that bad to go through projectiles. If you want a really good tool to defeat projectiles, however, you definitely want to use their level 2 super, as it has really long range and it's quite fast. It goes over many projectiles, is not actually invulnerable, so if you don't pick the ranges correctly you might land on them, but it's quite good damage, and like I said, you can use it in a lot of different situations. Speaking of her supers, at level 3 it gives her a buff that stays for the remainder of the match in case you missed it. It doesn't matter if the super hits or not, and this buff actually gives Kimberly some added damage as well as better movement speed. It seems to be relatively minor, maybe 20%, but it's still very nice to have as it doesn't go away ever. Kimberly as a character has a lot of tools, mostly geared towards rushdown and mix-ups. She can force you to stop pressing buttons pretty effectively, as she has a lot of ways of dissuading you from doing so, and then she can approach rapidly with dashes or the run, for example. Even basic mix-ups that people have already discovered seem pretty real, and with the right combo starters she can actually do quite high damage. I definitely think she's one of the better characters in the current build, and people that like mix-ups will definitely enjoy Kimberly quite a lot. And this is finally the end for the info dump. Like I said, it was some old and new information mixed with some of my thoughts, but I really hope that this gives you a good idea of what the characters are capable of, especially for the upcoming Street Fighter 6 beta. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please drop us a like and subscribe to the channel, as there's a lot more content coming your way, especially with the upcoming Street Fighter 6 beta as I just mentioned. We're making sure to cover it in every possible detail. So I'll see you soon. Bye!